They say all men are created equal.
Shot! Master!
I pull out the Glock.
Full of suffering succotash, son.
One of your nuts is hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass!
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast with Lucy and Estelle. It's after Christmas, I'm full of cheese. We've done our 2024 review. If you've not watched that, definitely go and check that out. But we still had one more pay-per-view left for 2024, World's End. And that's what we're back today with, a review of World's End, which was pretty dramatic and quite a lot of stuff went down.
Yeah, I hope everyone watching had a great Christmas, great Boxing Day, great holidays. And yeah, World's End, high highs, low lows were my takeaway from it. And I feel like it was an interesting pay-per-view and I'm looking forward to discussing it. It wasn't great throughout the whole it might be my least favourite pay-per-view of the year, but I'm interested to talk about it and break it down because I don't know how I feel. Like I say, it was a mixed bag for me.
Yeah, same, and I think it's something that needs breaking down and picking apart because it was just a bit odd. And I think you've covered it very succinctly with your high highs, low lows.
Oh, succinctly.
Yeah.
I like that word.
That's a great word.
Yeah, I watched some of it live. The first 2 hours I watched live. I didn't catch the pay-per-view, so unfortunately we can't really review that. I had a little nap before, then watched it, then went back to sleep, went to work, came home, finished watching it. Lucy's watched it today, I believe this morning, so you've had a little bit of time to digest.
Yeah,
I think.
I've sort of watched it throughout the day in bits and pieces, sort of sporadically. And also it was plagued by terrible internet connection. So if my thoughts seem a little bit all over the place and I don't know, it might have thrown off some of my observations. Obviously the pacing gets fucked up thanks to that. But yeah, to sum up, yes, I have watched it like throughout the day today.
It's so frustrating, isn't it, when you're trying to watch it and it just keeps breaking, especially when it's like in a long match and you can't, like you say, you can't really pick up the pacing. The stream last night was quite bad. Watching it today, I managed to find a stream that wasn't so bad, but watching it live, it's very hit or miss. I heard online if you stream through Triller, I think it is, that was kind of playing up, so I don't know, but yeah, let's get into this. So the first match of the night, we got the two Continental Classic semi-finals. So this was Ospreay versus Fletcher, which from the gate, it's a great matchup. It was a hot match.
Yep.
And I feel like it's something that can kind of be like a bit buried under because there was so much throughout the night. But as always with AEW pay-per-views, kicking off with an absolute banger. And it just, every time with an AEW pay-per-view, it's kind of like the rug being pulled from underneath you, like, this is a great match.
Well, we're starting straight away. You don't have any time. Yeah. It's just like, boom.
Yeah, off to the races. I really enjoyed this. I feel like it didn't have anything being taken away from it because obviously we've seen this matchup before, but it still had a really big match feel. I mean, and yeah, I really enjoyed just how hot out the gate it was. Kyle Fletcher was straight on Ospreay, but Ospreay was ready to meet him throughout the start of the match. And I loved the reaction on Fletcher's face when like the crowd was rallying behind Ospreay and just how much that was getting to him. Just the character work from Kyle Fletcher. What was it? Was he our breakout star of the year?
Yes, he was.
Our breakout star of the year. Not Kyle O'Reilly, Kyle Fletcher.
Definitely. Yeah, this is the right Kyle.
I thought the whole match premise of this being in tournament was a great crux to their feud, as it were, because this is the crux of it, is who is the better wrestler, and what way to even the score than the semi-finals of the Continental Classic. So it really felt amped up, and even though you've seen this before and you've seen them try to get the better of each other before, like I say, it didn't take anything away from it at all.
No, it was a different match, wasn't it, all around?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I enjoyed as well the interaction with the crowd when he ripped up the Osprey's better
Oh
sign. For
God,
another fan to hold up the Osprey is still better.
that
Like
was
how that was
brilliant.
great. That was brilliant.
Yeah, that person.
Uh,
Props to you. Being prepared. Wow.
yeah. Osprey got the first colour of the night, and
Oh my
my God, did this
Christ.
man bleed? It was insane.
That was
Throughout,
horrific.
it really was. Yeah. We had that grim spot with him getting the blood on Carl Fletcher's white boots and him licking it off, which
You
was
sick fuck.
yeah. And I just really want to say that it's lovely to see Fletcher reach the next level with his heel turn. Obviously, we said he's our breakout star of the year, and yeah, I just really just shout out again to that because who would have thought at the start of the year that he could pull off this? I mean, I wouldn't have thought
Yeah.
so.
And like, even though he's in the Don Callis family, and I think that does work for him, he's not. That's not a crux, and he's still got his own identity. I feel like, and he can still stand on his own, and it doesn't feel
Yeah.
like that's all defining him.
Another thing is I really enjoy him with Don Callis because it finally feels like Don Callis is with someone who's the dastardly level of him. Because
Yeah.
oftentimes with the Callis family, it's been like he's kind of corrupting someone, or with Kenny, like Kenny was a bit dastardly. Kenny's never that dastardly, is he? Like, let's be real. He's very camp heel when he is heel. His little cape and his little weird beard thing that he had going on back then. But yeah, I feel like he's a proper sick bastard, is Kyle Fletcher, and it's really cool to see that.
They match
And
each
I love
other's freak.
match my freak. And I said you could pause this match at any point and just look at the picture and the expressions on these men's faces and know exactly what's going on.
That is
It
such a
was
yeah.
brilliant.
What's the word I'm looking for? Like astute observation.
Yeah.
That's yeah,
And
I like that. That's so true.
I thought as well, just the level that Ospreay was wrestling, obviously later on he went on to wrestle an amazing match for Okada, but the amount of blood he was losing and to be doing things like the standing sky twister
Yeah.
was
What the
insane. How does
fuck?
this
Yeah.
man still have the balance and the whereabouts? And I was just blown away by that because the
Yeah.
amount he was losing, how dizzy he must have felt, disorientated, and still to just like a cat always land on his feet. It just
Yeah, I
good.
noted the exact same thing. It's really impressive he could still pull out those big moves. Considering, like, I mean, Com's played it up a lot, like, oh, he's blinded, he can't see the blood is pouring in his eyes. But I mean, that was no
Oh,
joke.
he was.
It was horrific.
Yeah, Com's always like the crimson mask, and oh, like you get disoriented, you lose amount of blood, and it's like generic lines, but truly, yeah, very well deserved lines. And then, what do you make of that headbutting um, little sequence that we had? Because Jesus Christ,
Um, the only little thing I wrote down was headbutts are stupid.
I don't think
It's
the CTE guys.
yeah, exactly. I don't think this is concussion awareness approved. It was just I appreciate it because you don't see this type of sports often. Okay, like because
Yeah,
obviously headbutts are so dangerous. So when you do see it like this, it had a lot of impact. But I don't know, I felt a bit uncomfortable. I feel like maybe we could tone it down a little bit just for their own sake of their health. But we've covered this before. It's their choice. They're grown men. They can do whatever they want. And it was pretty cool and very, very violent. So yeah, I'm not complaining.
yeah, and artistically, it kind of. I liked the way Fletcher was getting marked by the blood every time it's headbutting.
Yeah,
And it was kind of like two animals like rearing off, like locking horns almost.
yeah,
So
it
that
was
was cool,
so
but
smooth.
it made me wince. It wasn't an easy watch by any means, but like
Yeah.
you say, what are you gonna do if they want to do that? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I felt the same way sort of about the amount of blood, and I feel like that was probably an accident. Presumably he hit a vein, and that's why there was so much. You could literally see it spouting blood. You don't get that from a little cut, do you? But I felt like to me, it's an uncomfortable amount of blood. I'm not into it. I found it difficult to watch, especially when they didn't really feel it because it's not like a death match or anything. It didn't really feel like there was a spot to really justify why he was bleeding that much. I was like, where's this bloody well come from? And I don't know. especially because it was the first match as well. So then how do you match that level of intensity further on in the card? That was kind of my worry when I was watching this is one, I hate this is disgusting, that's just a personal thing. And two, how do you like match that going forward?
Yeah, I guess it makes sense because, as we know, Ospreay went on to win this match, and I think the story was always Ospreay fights a really bloody hard battle with Kyle Fletcher, and then he has to stumble into the match with Okada, who's cocky, and they get into it there. And I think that was always the thing. But I agree, I don't think he was meant to blade that hard. I think that was always the story they were going to tell, and I think that it worked beautifully.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was intense and very extreme, and as you say, how do you match that? And then we had later a lot of blood at the start of this show, and I just it was just but I liked the blood in this match, but it was just a bit like ooh, like
Also, just a little thing, the fact that Nigel McGuinness was on commentary as well, and his history of disliking blading and campaigning against it because of his experience with hepatitis. I've just wondered, has he moved past that? Like, does he still hold those same opinions? If anyone's watched his Last of McGuinness documentary, which was years ago now, so he may well have changed his mind. I don't know, but I'd be interested to know. I just felt a little bit sorry for him on commentary. I don't know. I can't tell you what he's feeling, put words into his mouth, but felt a little bit tense.
I feel like on a podcast, I can't remember one. It was one that he did around the All In period. It might have been with Chris Van Fleet. It might have been with Jericho. It was with someone, a bigger podcast, and he did say that he tries to educate people about it.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, not everyone's gonna listen, and
Yeah.
also like in AEW, as we know with the CM Punk thing, sometimes people don't take kindly to mentorship or guidance. Even if it's like from a good place. So I don't know. I mean, for me, like I'm totally fine with blood. I personally fucking love blood. Like I think it's really cool. But like there's it was a lot. I don't think it needed to be as much, but
it's just
like you say, it must be so difficult for Nigel to watch that.
Yeah, I just felt for him, and I'd be curious to know what he thought of it, and also the headbutt thing, because that's a big thing. His match with one of his famous matches with Danielson, he got a really bad head injury from headbutts and things like that. So I think he'd have an interesting perspective, but I can't put words in his mouth and assume his feelings. But it's just when it's like when the blood is like projectiling. That's when I don't like it. I can.
Yeah, it was sprayed on the canvas. It wasn't like drops of blood. It was like you said, it was splaying out like it almost like hit an artery or hit a nerve.
Yeah,
it was almost like SFX. It's crazy.
That's what grosses me out. Maybe I'm just pussy. I don't know, but yeah.
So Ospreay was able to pick up the win with a Rana roll up into a Styles Clash.
Wow.
I wrote they were both as good as each other, but Ospreay has that wily edge to him from being a veteran, because move for move they can go, toe for toe they can go, but Ospreay just has that little bit extra, and it's that it's he's just got more years on him, more experience, and that's how he's able to get him. But it was still an incredible match, an incredible showing from Fletcher, and really brutal, and it really made you think, God, how is he going to compete in the second match, which I think was always the intentional thing. However, to the degree that it was, I don't know.
But yeah, perhaps not. I think you're right about the whole experience thing coming into play, and I think that's been a theme throughout this tournament, and I think it is later on in the evening as well, which we'll get into. But I think that's that's an apt sort of thing to pick up on, because I do think that's repeated, and I think it's a nice way to tell a story. And I love this because Kyle's sort of, he said he's sick of being compared to Ospreay, or he's like the next Ospreay, and he wants to break out on his own, which I think he's succeeded in doing, but he's just not ready to make that next step to actually defeating Ospreay and being better than him. So it was a very fun match, and great way to kick off the show. And also set up, like you said, set up a great story for the final with Ospreay going in with his hole in his head, essentially.
Do you know what I thought? After this match, I'd just be I hope he ate some really good food because I just think, how satisfying must like a burger be after that?
Yeah, well,
Like I'd be starving after that, man. Like I just think a big fuck off pizza or like a massive burger or like a kebab. I think like that really hit.
well deserved. Well, yeah, in at the Morecambe wrestling shows, there's a pizza shop just around the corner, from the venue, and it's full of wrestlers after every single show.
Understandable. Understandable.
So yeah, can confirm from experience that is true.
So after this, we got Ricochet versus Okada, and obviously Ricochet just got to touch on this. The tweets that the man has been putting out.
It put a
the
real
gimmicks
sour note on this
he's
for
been
me. Like I
playing.
just couldn't get it out of my head.
Yeah,
Looking
same.
at
And a
him, I was
lot of
just like-
people online are loving it. They're like, "Oh, I love this character. Like, who would have thought Ricochet would be getting over for his character?" Because, as I say, I was watching it live and I was on like the live chats because I like to see what people are kind of thinking and feeling. So for the later parts, I'm not including what people think because I try to avoid like podcasts and spoilers and things like that. But for I kind of got the general opinion, and a lot of people were really yeah, I don't know if that's just because they're men and so like it's
Probably.
easy to segregate, I guess, like your opinions, but as like a woman, I don't know, it's just something that like I can't. Andrew Tate gimmick, it's just not something I can get behind. I think if a gimmick's gonna have like serious implications or yeah, I don't know. It's giving X-Pac heat, but
Well,
I agree that
yeah.
like it took me out of it a lot.
Yeah, and it made me realise how much he looks like Andrew Tate. And I
He
feel
does.
like this
I
might
feel
be.
like he's like angry because he's bald.
I think this might be where it's come from. I feel like someone said to him as a joke, like backstage, you know, you look like that Andrew Tate guy. And he's took it to heart and been like, well, maybe I am Andrew Tate. And like, maybe I can turn this into a gimmick. And maybe that'll make the cool dudes on the internet like me.
The cool dudes on the internet.
You know,
Jesus Christ.
the men who think it's funny. It's just like, yeah. If this is the only way you can get heat, maybe find another job. Lucha Underground had the right idea when they put a mask on this man and didn't let him have a microphone.
Didn't let him speak, yeah. That's been the downfall of him. But I was surprised this was a first time matchup. That was interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed Okada during this because Okada was just doing his standard bit of like being a dick, and it was so entertaining because obviously we're really in our hating Ricochet era. I love the shush that he did, running the ropes Hogan style, and then the really simple slap to Ricochet on his stupid bald head. I could watch that all day. That was fantastic.
That was like
That's
probably my highlight of the night. That really cheered
Spot of the
me.
night.
Okada, he's for the girlies. He did that for us.
I put as well on my slating of Ricochet. What in the Pinterest tattoo is that? Be fearless across his chest. Terrible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. All his tattoos are horrible.
Okada wins with the Rainmaker. I wrote very satisfying.
Very satisfying. Very satisfying. Like, he just grounds him. He's just no nonsense. Okada's like, I don't give a fuck what you're saying on the internet or what you do
Okada's a
in your
Sigma.
life.
Ricochet thinks he's like the alpha male, but Okada is very Sigma coded.
Yeah, Okada was just like, none of that flippy shit today, hun. Rainmaker it
And I
out.
just couldn't be arsed with it either. I think after like all the Kyle Fletcher Ospreay stuff, which obviously is very hard to follow up a match like that, the intensity, not just physical but emotional intensity that it had. But I just couldn't be arsed. Like, it genuinely was just like flippy move for the sake of doing flippy moves. I don't know, again, like maybe it's personal bias and like just not being able to get into things because of my own opinions on him outside of the ring. But it just didn't work for me, this.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because my observation when this match was next, I just thought, yeah, all four of these wrestlers in the semi-final of this tournament are great, but they're all sort of high spot types, similar wrestlers. I don't know. That's maybe controversial considering Okada, but I don't know. It just felt quite samey. Coming on from that match to this one,
Yeah.
it was just a bit like, oh, I'm kind of fatigued. I want a mix of different wrestling styles. I don't really want this again.
And two continental things back to back. It was
Yeah,
a bit.
I get it because like you're wrestling twice, so you go at the start
Yeah.
and end of the show. I get that, but yeah, it was just a bit full on.
Yeah, totally. So after this, in comes the toilet paper with one roll to a dejected Ricochet. As Swerve comes out, just want to shout out the fit. He looked very stunning. Swerve called out his shit talking, as he should. And then Nana came out naying with a huge wheelbarrow of toilet paper. It was so funny.
Sentences that have never been said before in the English language.
Who he then goes round and hands it to the crowd. And on the count of three, they all say "Happy New Year, Trevor," and throw in the toilet paper. And he was seething. He was
He
absolutely
looked fuming.
fucking fuming.
He was stood there like the guy stood emoji, just literally just like looking so wooden and yeah. When right, I thought someone in the crowd threw a toilet roll in, and I was like, that is iconic behaviour.
I think that one person did before Swift came out. I'm pretty sure.
That must have been a plant, though, right? Like you wouldn't.
No, I think like it's been like a thing people have just been like doing.
Oh,
It's like a mockery of like the streamers.
yeah, I get that, but I didn't realize it was a thing before this.
It was already like a thing, yeah, and then like Swift kind of like capitalizing on it.
Oh, right, okay, I see. Because I was like,
It
wow.
wasn't like his idea of like that'd be so random. Like, oh,
I was like, wow, this one person threw my toilet roll. You are edgy and cool. But then, like, Swerve came and we got lots of different toilet rolls. I was a bit like, okay. I mean, it's kind of funny because it's Ricochet, but can we move on? Wrestling match, please.
It was a great little gif moment though, and yeah, I'm interested in this feud. I would like to just see wrestlers I like beat up wrestlers I don't like. That's and as far as wrestlers go, like with Sammy Guevara, like I hate him, but like I find his wrestling style boring. But at least Ricochet's got somewhat. I mean, tonight it wasn't hit. Last night it wasn't hitting, I should say. But at least he's got somewhat of a decent enough wrestling style that I feel like. You know, him and Swerve can have a good match, and hopefully he just beats the shit out of him, and I can get behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll have a great match. It'll be a good mesh of styles, and yeah, begrudgingly credit to Ricochet. He's a good wrestler, so.
And just the thing is, as well, I just want to touch on this before we just move on. Even if, like, because I know people might come to his defense and be like, "Oh, well, he doesn't believe what he says." But for me, like, that's so irregard. It's so these ideas are so dangerous. They perpetuate violence against women.
Exactly.
Like, I don't. And to me, though, my personal reading, I say we don't know these people. We don't know Nigel McGuinness. We can't people's words, people's mouths, but we can. You know, read between the lines. And to me, it's giving more Max Caster of like, I do have these opinions, but I'm going to hide behind the guise of being edgy. But even if I do give you the benefit of the doubt, then I just think you're fucking stupid. Yeah. Because do you not realise what you're perpetuating by doing this? And to all the edgelords who like think it's so cool, like it's really, really not. It's not doing what you think it's doing.
Precisely. Yeah, you hit the
And
nail
how
on
can
the
you like? I think you said when we were talking about this about like the women working there, I would not feel safe if someone was going around spreading these ideas or like hiding behind this guise.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't feel safe.
Yeah. No, me neither. Me neither. And I hope the women's locker room jumps him. Because it's just how even if like you say, even if you don't believe it, spreading it is doing more harm. It's still doing harm. Even just spreading it, even if you don't believe it, you know, there's still people out there who are going to think that you do believe it. And is that even if it is a character that you play on TV, is that something morally that you want on your conscience that you want people to think about you, even if you are a heel. You know, MJF, one of the best heels ever. He's never been a fucking horrible, you know, misogynist, all the ists you could think of to be a really effective heel. You don't have to do that to get heat. And like I said, if you do have to resort to this sort of thing to get heat, then there's something not right, because it's just it's harmful. No matter what way you spin it, oh, you don't really believe it, or it's just a character, or you're getting worked. Like,
Yeah, I think there's like different levels, isn't there, of like misogynism, of like the cheap kind of misogynism, and
yeah,
especially back, I don't think they do it anymore, but like the whole like fat shaming things, I think that got banned.
yeah,
But like that, yeah. Anyway, this is just opening cans of worms. I feel like this is like a long discussion, maybe for like a theme podcast, to really get like, because obviously there's a lot of nuance to this.
yeah, for
But
sure.
I think what we're saying is that it sensationalizes it. It makes it into
Yeah.
like a circus, and that's the issue with like, you know, like politics and stuff, is when you sensationalize these things, and it just, yeah, it just spreads these ideas even more. So just not the best look. Then we had Renee interviewing Ospreay, who looked absolutely fucked.
He
May I add?
sounded and looked like absolute shit. I mean, he didn't even look like him. He looked like a different person.
Yeah, I feel for him. He says he needs the support of the exhausted crowd. He's bleeding, and the odds are in his favour. And in the immortal words of Tony Khan, let's fucking go, lads. When has Tony Khan ever said this?
Oh, that was so funny.
In the immortal words.
I
What
just
are
like
you on about?
I'm just picturing Tony Khan saying that backstage, like, "Oh, let's fucking go, lads." Like, but he's American. He wouldn't say that. Oh, I just think Osprey was on. He was high on life in this one. You know, like probably maybe concussed and lost a lot of blood. He's delusional, and he's just. I think they were just like, "We need to do a promo. I'm going to do a promo," and he's like, okay," and he's just saying whatever comes into his head.
Yeah.
I mean, props to him for doing that, because that can't have been easy. But yeah,
So obviously didn't particularly enjoy the last match, and then this next match didn't really enjoy. Thunder Rosa versus Mariah May. I don't like Thunder Rosa.
oh yeah, I forgot that you don't like Thunder
I
Rosa.
really don't like her. I just nothing could make. It's like Sammy Guevara. Like nothing could make me like this
Of
woman.
course.
Like genuinely, I do not feel connected to her. I don't enjoy her. I liked her dad though. Her dad was very very cute. I will say that. But I just can't. I just cannot connect with women. So we've already got her feuding with Mariah May, when Mariah May could be doing so many other interesting things, but whatever.
It sort of
Number
just felt like
two.
it came out of nowhere.
It's a street fight.
Is this because I don't watch Collision? I was like, what's happening? Have I
So,
missed something?
like, obviously, Thunder Rosa does a lot of work on Collision, and she has done a lot of great street fights. But again, this just made it feel like Collision street fight. This was do you know what? I'm not going to say the name because I don't think I've written it down, but I don't think I can't read it.
Is it
Tijuana?
Tijuana? Tijuana, I think that's right. Yeah.
A
We'll not say it again.
Tijuana street fight.
I'm saying it wrong.
Tijuana. Yeah. So it just felt like Collision. It felt like Rampage. It didn't feel special. It didn't feel elevated enough for a pay-per-view, and it was just, yeah, it just didn't connect with me. We had the spitting out the tequila spot, the thumbtacks in the pinata, and then the Mayday onto the tacks. The Storm Zero through the table for the win after an attempted choke out with the chain. And yeah, this just
Didn't do it
this
for
just
you.
no, it just felt like I hate when street fights just feel like, and now we pick up this weapon, and now we do the spot with this weapon, and now we do the table spot. And it was just very formulaic. It was boring. How the fuck do you make it boring with all these things? Because it was just running through the motions. It never felt like it needed to be this level of violent. The blood
they didn't
that
reach
Mariah
that
May gained wasn't very good. Like, it wasn't enough. Like, when she walked out, she barely looked like she'd even been in a street fight.
Yeah. But also...
Especially after the Ospreay blood, and that's, like, what that does.
That's what I was just about to say. Like, anything's going to look measly compared to that.
I also forgot to say that the sand thrown in Thunder Rosa's face, where the hell was the sand procured from?
The beach.
The beach, of course, but it just could have done without this. Really, just did nothing. Didn't build either woman. I just terrible.
I mean, your feelings are valid. I don't completely agree. I don't completely disagree. I wasn't like, oh, this is. I didn't think it was a great match, but I thought it was I thought it was entertaining without being. I didn't think it was goofy or anything, to be honest. I quite liked her dad getting involved and using his walking stick as a weapon. I thought it was quirky and unexpected that she had thumbtacks in the pinata. I thought it was funny when Nigel McGuinness said, those thumbtacks are going to go straight through Mariah's virgin skin. And Tony Schiavone went, the what? 10 out of 10 commentary. Yeah, and I kind of enjoyed it. The finish with the Storm Zero through the table, I thought that was a pretty epic finish.
I think I have
brutal.
a different standard for a pay-per-view. Like, for a Dynamite, I would have probably rated it and had the same reaction to you. But for a pay-per-view, and I don't like seeing these types of things just thrown in for the sake of it. And it's just like, oh, what can we do with Mariah? Let's do this. Well, I thought, Mina, I get that you're doing this whole Toni Storm's got to work her way back up the ranks, that storyline. Okay, fair enough. But I thought Mina Shirakawa was back. And it's just like you said, it's thrown together. And I didn't like how formulaic it was.
Yeah. I think that's totally, like, makes sense, everything that you said. Where's Mina? Why we
want Mina.
We do. We need her because it's just what you said about what can we do with Mariah on the show, and probably like, oh, we could maybe do with a street fight or some sort of gimmicked match on this show. There you go.
And it's just produced out of it, terrible. So, but the next thing was even worse. This may even be like one of the worst matches of the year. This was horrendous. This was absolute. I think I caught it on the live stream, like, what a load of shite, and a lot of people have voted that. So a lot of people held the same sentiment. Again, and you got a picture of it. I'm staying up late. I've got a cold, and I've got more to lose than the Americans. Okay, when I stay up and watch something, okay, like
it's got to be worth it.
Exactly, it's got to be worth it. When it's like 2:30 in the morning, you're getting a bit tired, and then like
get a bit grumpy.
Like, I've worked tomorrow as well. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting grumpy. I'm like, I'm sacrificing my sleep for this show. MJF vs. Adam Cole came out. Adam Cole looking very pale. And
very pale. He must have heard us giving him ick of the ear with his fake tan.
MJF continues to play the heel despite the crowd being behind him. If I need your help, I'll ask for it. Shut the fuck up. Adam Cole gained colour. Clap if you care. Crowd still chanting MJF. MJF acquires colour. Brilliant comment on the live stream, not my own, but this is a caricature of a blood feud. Summed up perfectly.
Yeah, that's very apt.
Bennett and Taven came out, and MJF faked an interference, which was, I enjoy when he does his intelligent heel stick, so they rejected. And then this match breaks down very fast and very anticlimactically with the Heat Seeker for the win. Trash. And then it goes from bad to worse because after Adam Cole's attempt at using the Dynamite Diamond ring, which was like before the Heat Seeker, yeah, and then MJF's about to break his leg, his fucking leg, should I say? Roderick comes out and chases MJ off. Kyle O'Reilly then comes down and forces him into the ring. They then take him out, and the help. Yeah. Roderick and Kyle bury the hatchet, and
Everyone's hugging and kissing.
yeah, and then the health max up. They're hugging and kissing. Sorry, my handwriting, it's like a doctor's when you get a prescription. It's just like swirls and squirrels. Punch MJF with the diamond ring. So, first of all, I don't like this. First of all, I do not like the dynamic of the match. I don't like how the angst of MJF turning against the crowd. It's not working for me. I just think it's time that we just let the character go where it needs to go.
Yeah, it's not working for anyone, and the crowd were desperate to cheer him.
They were, and it's like nobody got any the crowd didn't get any release in this. Then for him to win very anticlimactically with the Heat Seeker, but then the whole beatdown, he looked so weak, and
yeah.
Just the whole making up shtick, and we were quite excited about like the Kyle O'Reilly stuff and the Roderick Strong, and it seemed like the saving grace and intriguing, and to just squash that by making it so black and white and just like we're all good guys and we all love Adam Cole. And then again, this finish, it was very neither man getting the definitive win, so it's as though we're going to continue it on. It's called World's End. I was expecting this world to end as a year ago. MJF's world ended with the devil, but I do not understand. I don't understand. And I'm getting to Jericho point of like, I can rant, I can rave, but I am getting to the point now where I am exhausted talking about this. I don't want to talk about it, and I don't give a fuck. And I think that's even worse when you reach that apathetic stage. And that's where I'm at. Oh, that's where I'm very no, that's where I'm at. Fuck it, that's where I'm at. I don't care. I don't want to see MJF on my screen if it's to do with this, and that's really, really, really bad.
Yeah, being like apathetic to it and not caring is the worst thing you can have in wrestling. Like, you know, you want a reaction. So yeah, that's the worst result, and I feel like it's just got to that point. This story feels like you said, it needs a full stop. But this was a very 50-50 ending. So you've got MJF, he's still got the ring. He got the win, but then he's the one who's being beat down at the end by this group of friends, and which doesn't make sense. Like, them all like stood there with holding each other's hands at the end. It made no sense. It was very unsatisfying ending. Way more unsatisfying than I think if it just ended with MJF winning and that's it, and maybe Adam Cole's got to, I don't know, like just work from the ground up from there. But yeah, this just felt very 50-50, and it's sad because if you think it'd be much better if Adam Cole was the heel, MJF was the face.
It's such a simple fix.
Yeah,
and I want to know who's writing this story, because we know a bit about the backstage writing process. RJ City, the fucking MVP, obviously he's been writing the Tony Storm. He's actually been behind the Blackpool Combat Club stuff as well. What a lad.
Legend.
The Mone and Stat has been written by Mone's personal writer. I've forgotten her name. It's like Jennifer Pepperman maybe, or something along those lines. I can't remember the one that Sanjay Dutt has been writing, but it's one of the main. Or it might be the Callis family.
Right.
It might be, but you know, some great, and these storylines are great. So it's great to put names to faces, and
absolutely.
Hell yeah,
this is where it's due. Yeah.
Who the fuck is writing the Devil storyline? Who the fuck has written that one? That's what I want to know.
I mean, we've talked. This is the thing again. What you said, we've talked at length about it on the podcast, and getting a bit sick of saying the same thing over and over again. It's like shit happened, and you have to pivot on it. Fine, but it does just sort of feel like they're putting it together on the fly. Like, oh, we need to do something this week. Do this. It doesn't really feel thought out. Well, I mean, what else really can you say? I thought that Bryce Ramsberg looked like a certified dumbass in this because of the way they did the referee spot. Wasn't really a fan of that. My main takeaway is that MJF is so much better at being bad than Adam Cole is. Like, no matter how hard he tries, like Adam Cole might think he's a big baddie and he can blah blah blah, but MJF, it comes natural to MJF. But at the same time, Max is it's such a weird paradox. Max is so much more likable in this situation.
Yeah.
It makes no sense, but that's just the way it is. And like you said, it's an easy fix, but
It's just so exposing, isn't it? It's not. It's like negative to everyone's auras, and for me, it was like the last bit of hope that I had was crushed because I know it's like in your head and you book things about the way that they want to go. Not that I expected them to be that way, and then I'm throwing a tantrum, but for me, it's like I had a small bit of investment and hope left, and
yeah,
this just felt like a massive middle finger, and it's just like what do you think's gonna happen? Like, do you think you can just keep pushing out? And to me, maybe it's because there's so much going on at the top that there's just no room. But that's fine. Like, I'd rather not see them on my screen and to have them come to work when they have something to work with than just be here just because.
yeah,
Because, yes, they have clout, in particular Max, and you want to get him on your pay-per-views, but Jesus Christ, like
at what
I'm
cost?
worried. I'm worried where Max is going to be in 6 months if this continues, like in terms of popularity and clout. Because you look at people's stock in AEW on top and how it's on the rise, and Max is just declining so gradually. And I know it sounds crazy to say because Max is like, I love Max, you love Max, he's our golden boy. To me, he's the greatest man in pro wrestling. He's like in the top 3 wrestlers in the world. But I honestly think that we could be having a crisis in like 6 months if something isn't done because this is so damaging to him, I think. And it's like watching a car crash and it's just awful.
Yeah, and you know what wrestling fans are like. Negative things stick in your mind. They just do, and if you need to save it as soon as possible to yeah, like you said, prevent it from becoming like a long-term thing. I can't think of the word. Just like a long-term like notch on him, like long-term effect on his his stock, his outward appearance, the way he's perceived in wrestling.
It feels like everyone else is like there's the finish line. Everyone else is kind of moving along, and I'm not saying he has to be at the top fighting for the championship, but Jay White, Ospreay, Fletcher, Takeshita, everyone's got such aura and they're building their stock.
Yeah.
And Max is he's just nowhere near where he should be. And for being in his prime and the money they're probably paying him,
Yeah.
and the talent that he has, it's such a waste.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get to a point where like everyone's going to be really all the way over here, the crowd are going to be behind him, and Max is going to be all the way here, and then how are you going to rebuild him? And I'm not saying he's so great, and he probably could come back from anything and reinvent himself, but I don't know. It's just not what you want to see.
Yeah, it's sad for him, especially God, 2023 All In. This was like the main event. Crazy.
Mad world, but that's wrestling and it's unpredictable. So we had an announcement for New Year's Day Fight for the Fallen streaming on Max. But something that I really, really want to talk about is Jeff Jarrett will be making an announcement regarding his future.
That worried
That was very
me.
concerning for me.
Yeah, I found that very worrying.
I'm not ready to let go of Jeff Jarrett. Like, I never even thought about it. Like, I don't know why in my
It's
head I'm like,
incomprehensible.
he's just going to be on the pre-show smashing his guitar over people's heads forever. Like, what are you on
Yeah.
about? But I don't know if my mental health is like it's hanging by a string, and I think like Jeff Jarrett retiring might just be like the final thing.
The string that it's holding on by is one of Jeff Jarrett's guitar strings.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. It is worrying. Hopefully, he can still be on screen. Maybe I don't know. Don't know.
We won't know till he makes his announcement, will we? What that's going to be? And
Hopefully, it's something positive.
isn't Jarrett from Texas? The state of Texas, or have I just totally made that up?
Well, he wears a
no, maybe
cowboy
it's
hat
Georgia.
sometimes, so you could be
Maybe it's
forgiven for
Georgia.
thinking that.
Isn't he from where Taylor Swift's from?
I'm googling.
Do you know what? I've got like 5 states in my head right now. I think he's from like Atlanta.
Tennessee.
Is Tennessee a state?
Yes, he's billed from Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville is Texas, right?
No, it's in Tennessee.
No, Nashville's Texas.
Nashville is in Tennessee.
Welcome to the
US
Right.
geography with Lucy and Estelle. I'm looking at a map.
I was gonna say because maybe he's gonna retire it all in.
It's not really close to Texas. I mean, it's like two states across from Texas.
I'm glad that we've pinned this down. Well, I don't know if there's any pay-per-views in Nashville, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got to have a big retirement match, though, surely.
I hope he gets like a Sting style. He really deserves it. He really does deserve his flowers. I love him so much, so... Yeah.
Agreed. We want the biggest send-off possible, if that's what we're leading up to. Hopefully not.
So then we had Takeshita versus Hobbs, and I really enjoyed this because, like you said, everything was kind of a bit samey, and then it was shite. So it was just nice to just watch something like this, and something that was a different style of wrestling. Just 2 big guys fighting a slower, brawler, strength match. It was really
100%.
refreshing.
100%. It was so nice to have something different, and it was just like, oh, yes, this is what I wanted. This is what I'm after. Big meaty men slapping meat.
I loved them going up to Callis like toddlers for approval. Like, they'd do a move and then be like, did you see that?
Did you see me, Dad? Were you watching?
Yeah. Takeshita working over the knee. I thought that the package pile driver was super impressive.
Yeah.
And he was able to pick up the win by capitalising on the knee injury. And I believe it was with the blue thunder bomb for the finish. I don't have much to say. Like, I just really enjoyed it. And obviously, big Takeshita fan. Also really like Will Hobbs.
Yeah.
And it was just good to see. The crowd was really hot for it, really behind it. And, you know, it was obvious. I think the right person won. And just a bit of fun in it. Just a bit of me.
Exactly. It's what this card needed. A little like good wrestling match, but good in a different way. And just a bit of like, I don't want to say like easy going, but it was like easy to watch. It was just purely entertaining, and it wasn't like you're thinking in depth about the psychology and stuff like that. You're just enjoying the spectacle of it. I loved Don Callis on commentary. He was great as usual. Tony Schiavone, Don, no one loves you. Fantastic. Hobbs working the knee worked really well, and Hobbs, he looked really good. He didn't look out of his depth at all. He just like, yeah, you belong in this type of match. You belong on this pay-per-view.
Yeah, 100%. So the next match was Mone versus Statlander. The ring gears were just insane. I was just like, wow, they both look so dazzling, and I just want to say that.
Absolutely.
I think I have a really big crush on Kris Statlander as well. Like, I just want to put that out there. Like, I just really like Britt Baker, obviously my number 1, but Kris Statlander, what a woman.
I mean,
the Bee Gees, more than a woman. More than a woman to me. Like, I just love her. I just love her whole vibe. I love a little bearded dragon that she's got. I love how strong she is. And kind. And Just
All these redeeming qualities.
I just love
An
her.
amazing ring gear.
And I know that her face team was kind of shit, but I like that she's not mean anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's like one of them things that, yeah, if you just forget about the fact it doesn't make sense and we didn't like it at first, live in the moment. It's good.
Yeah, think less, feel more. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think the first match was still my favorite,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
I
That match
liked
was
how they did
better.
different things in this. I
Yeah.
liked Start catching Mone and carrying her up the steps and then slamming her on the apron. That was
Oh my.
really fun.
So impressive.
Yeah, and so many times we had ovations during this match. The crowd was great all night. Shout out to you guys. You
In
understood the
Orlando.
assignment in
Yeah,
Orlando.
100%. Yeah, they were really into it, and I always really appreciate when women's wrestling gets the appreciation that it deserves. It's still, even though like, when we were kids and it wasn't really the norm, and it was just like women's matches were 2 minutes and no one cared. Now it's more normal and it as it should be, but it still makes my heart smile a little bit. It's still really touch. I find
Yeah,
it
and
really
they were
touching.
both really emotional at the end, weren't they, as well?
Yes,
Like, I don't know if that's just
they
because they were
were.
so proud of themselves, which I hope, positive emotions just overflowing all the love. But yeah, that ovation for well, I won't say the three amigos, it was like the bloody 10 amigos, delivered to
Yeah.
Statlander.
Yeah, it's like that turning point as well when that happened, when the crowd was like, yeah, we should be booing you, but we actually love you. And even commentary picked up on that. They were like, oh, they're cheering her now after that. It just goes to show how you really can win the crowd over it within one match. Whether intentional or not. I mean, she's still a big heel, isn't she? But it's just, you appreciate good wrestling when you see it.
Yeah, and compare Max to Monet, like their journey just from this all in where people were very positive towards Max and then negative towards Monet. It's impressive that she's been able to turn it around and deliver the match
100%.
quality that people expect of her. Jesus Christ, so that pile driver on the apron to
Oh
Statlander,
my God.
it just looked like she just dropped her. Like
Yes.
it looked awful.
Yeah, the selling of that was brilliant. I mean, the execution just, I think commentary said it is the fact that normally you wouldn't sit it out, you'd go down to your knees. And the fact that she sat it out made it all like more impactful. And I was like, I never noticed that. That's such a like little detail, but that is so true. And like the fact that it was on the apron made it, I mean, like 10 times even worse. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really, really brutal looking.
And then that began the 10 count. And even though like these types of matches never end with a 10 count, I really believe that like
Oh
it
my God.
might.
I know. And that camera angle when Mercedes was sat there like basically cheering because she thought she won it, and then the referee was about to count to 10, and then Kris just appeared behind her, like quickly getting in the ring, only just meeting the count of 10. That was a great camera angle because she literally appeared out of nowhere.
And they're like that moment before disaster of like Mone still celebrating
Yeah,
and Stat looking vengeful. It's like you said in the art gallery. It's going that.
yes. And the moment of realization on Mercedes' face, like, yeah, when she realized that she hadn't won, was again beautiful. And that's when Mercedes started getting desperate because she really thought she'd won and she was getting really frustrated, really angry. And I thought she played that off really well. You could just sense the emotion.
Yeah, and that last minute was so tense.
Yeah,
Every reversal, every pin, it just and like you just got your hands like and it just it, Kris Statlander is I mean she's kind of a latecomer to the think less feel more category, but
yeah,
towards the end of this year she's really making me feel I'm really rooting for her, and obviously she lost, um but I really think that I kind of like it because I hope that she wins the third. And I think it'll be a big emotional win for her, and I hope that's the direction that they're going down. Because Statlander was the TBS champion for a very long time. You know, it's got a lot of emotion behind us. She won it from Jay Cargill. You know, associate her with that belt like I'd associate Cassidy with the international. But I feel like when she does win that belt, what a moment that's going to be, and what a battle she's won, and it's actually brilliant. It's genius in hindsight.
Yeah, I agree, especially because this making the whole thing about Mercedes saying she's the greatest TBS champion of all time. Although I have to say, I don't want to manifest this, but I don't know if I can see, I don't know if I see her, Kris, picking up the belt. I don't know, just because she's had it before. I don't know. I'm not. I would love that, but I'm not convinced that that's the direction it's going.
I don't know. I just think that'd be just such like an emotional win. But I think that it'd have to be that Mone's got something to do afterwards,
Yeah.
because you would think that at some point they're going to move her towards the women's title, because that's the top title, and surely you want her there at some point. Surely after, I'd imagine, you clear up the whole Mariah May, Tony, Mina Shirakawa thing, whenever you can be asked to fucking do that storyline. Because that's kind of just on, like, in a kitchen and the food's ready, and like Nando's, and you just got under the little heater. That's where that is right now. But yeah, let's serve that up, and then when that's concluded, let's get our $1 million freaking signee in the top,
Yeah,
like we're doing with Ospreay. Let's do that. Let's
Yeah,
make some
exactly.
moves.
Pull the trigger on him.
Exactly. So then we had Okada versus Ospreay. JR came out for this, and
Bless
Ospreay,
him.
as I said earlier, looked fucked.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like a zombie. It just reminded me, I don't know, like a zombie in like a zombie video game. Just like his face was discolored. Like I said earlier, he didn't look like himself. He made no effort to wash any of the blood off. So yeah, he looked like shit.
Yeah. And I wrote, this is a really cool dynamic for an overplayed feud. And I don't mean overplayed in
Yeah.
a bad way. I could watch Okada Ospreay all day long as much as the next man, but I think this was a really cool wrinkle in it. And like we say, that story of this man's been to hell and back.
Yeah.
And here's Okada, he's not even broken a sweat. He's just been slapping the bald head of the local fucking incel. And he's here, and it was like David versus Goliath, that very traditional wrestling match, but intensified even more. And Ospreay is the blood-soaked baby face that the crowd was completely behind, and just, yeah, it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. What you said about it being like a overplayed feud, I know what you mean. Like, it's not that it's been overdone, but it's just been done many times. I think this had the potential to, I don't know, maybe be a little bit, not boring, but just not much beyond a great dream wrestling match that wrestling fans want to see. I think it risks falling into that trap, but I think they foresaw that, and that's hence why we got the story with Will Ospreay being beaten down and bloodied and stuff, and that being more of an uphill battle for him, and that worked a lot better than it would have done if it was purely, oh, wrestling, woo, two wrestlers. Yeah, this
Two
is
lads.
two lads being dudes in the ring. Yeah. Okada, I just thought, as usual, his character work and his facial expressions, just fantastic. Even though he's not really had like much direction lately, like without the EVPs and what have you, like, don't know. It's been sort of like, what's he doing? Regardless of that, he's still got, yeah, like I said, just brilliant character work still in the ring, and he's still an excellent performer who you want to see just beyond like the moves, and we all know he's a great wrestler. He's still got this character, he's still very entertaining.
Yeah, and I liked how he just had no mercy,
Yeah,
no sympathy towards him. The DDT on the floor, um, the slaps, and the exhaustion of Ospreay at one point where he collapsed onto the floor trying to climb the ring post, and Okada just grinning, just
yeah,
yeah, and then Ospreay bleeding yet again.
yeah. He just
What
can't
the
stop.
hell?
He just can't stop.
And the third act to this was just absolutely brilliant. Like,
Yes.
and again, how the hell does he? Osprey again just blew my mind because how does he have the energy or the capacity to put on a 5-star classic, having already wrestled earlier that night to a
Yeah,
very high
honestly.
degree? And a lot of times when a guy does like a match first and then later, it's like the first match is quite slow, and you don't pull out all the stops, and it was like no, it was like all the stops all night, every minute of the match, nothing wasted, no rest holds, no slowing down, and no one would have held that against him. I don't think no one would have
Mm, yeah.
thought any less of him, but it was just full force, full throttle, and as I said, that concluding part, and I mean the kick out of the Stormbreaker was just insane. Really got me that.
Yeah, there was a lot of near falls, that one especially.
Yeah, but it was the Rainmaker for the win, and the crowd was very, very hot for Osprey, and it just sucked the air out of the room, but not in a bad way, just in like a it was like a finish. It was great, and I said
Yeah.
that tournament style finish, that unpredictability, and like you said, the veteran nature of like, yeah, Osprey might have the experience of Fletcher, but Okada's got the experience on Osprey. But I don't know. I was kind of shocked because I did think Osprey was going to pick up the belt. So I'm not in a bad way. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. But I was definitely surprised.
I wasn't really surprised. I thought that I mean, I guess I didn't think Okada was going to win the whole thing. Like looking at the all the wrestlers that were involved, yes, I didn't expect that. But when it came down to the semi-finals, I did kind of see it coming. Um, I just feel like Okada's just simply is in kayfabe is simply better than all of the other contenders. That he just outclasses them all. Especially when you look at I think they said on commentary, Osprey and Okada's like record win loss. It's 9 to Okada and 2 to Osprey or something like that.
Yeah, after this match, yeah,
Mhm.
9-2. But I suppose as well, like he didn't really break that much of sweat during this match. Like yeah, during the final bit there was the reversals and things, but um yeah, maybe the next man that came out might be able to make him break the sweat though, because Christopher Daniel says he comes out and he's like, I can't present you with the title as I'm no longer an EVP, but this man can. And out comes Kenny Omega. Jesus Christ, this was really
It
emotional.
was,
Obviously,
wasn't
we
it?
know he's coming back for Wrestle Dynasty in January the 5th, I believe it is, with New Japan. But him making his AEW return first, even though it's not in the ring, just him returning was huge, and I was just so emotional, and like having them both be in the ring and the impact that they have had on me as a wrestling fan, and the impact that their feuds and like their matches have had on me. It was just really special, and
Yeah.
um Okada kind of does his bit. He gets the belt and kind of looks like he's not really paying him much mind. But I was so emo because his eyes told a different
Oh
story. Like
my
in his
God,
eyes,
so
you could tell. And
true.
comms were like putting over like this, and I was like, but he was just so happy to like see his friend back, and it was like
Yes.
so real, and it just pierced through it, and it was just beautiful.
Yes, so true. When his music hit, Okada had just this little smile on his face. This really cute little
Yeah,
smile, like he knew what was coming. Oh yeah, it was adorable. I mean, it was proper goosebumps moment.
it was so great to see um Kenny back. He looks a
Yeah.
lot. He looks, a lot slimmer, and it's I feel like we're all just waiting with bated breath for what's going to come with the Gabe Kidd match, because what are we going to get? We don't know. I would love, and this is so fantasy booking. This is not going to happen, but I just would love, especially since he's going back to Japan, if he just came out as the cleaner
Yeah,
and
I
then
know.
returned to AEW with the cleaner gimmick. Just
I
one
know
last
that's what
time,
you
one
want.
last cleaner run.
Manifest
But I'd
that.
be
Maybe
happy
it
with
will.
anything. I'd be happy with anything at this point, and like, yeah, just all the intrigue of what that's going to be like. But obviously, it seems that when he comes back, he's going to be feuding with Okada.
Yeah, I guess. Looks like
Yeah,
it. I mean, oh,
which will be fun, and I hope that we get to
that'll be
see that at
tasty.
Forbidden Door. That would be my preferred.
Oh my
Because that was supposed to
God.
happen at Wembley, we didn't get it, so I hope that they're able to save that for Forbidden Door selfishly.
Yeah, I think I sort of wrote this as a prediction, but for our 2024 review video, we did 2025 predictions, and I sort of crossed it off because there was big rumors that Kenny was going to return at World's End, but my sort of one of my predictions that I ended up not saying was that Kenny's going to make a huge return at Forbidden Door. Maybe, it's not a return as such, but maybe that'll, yeah, what you said, huge match against Okada, that'd be bloody lovely.
It would, wouldn't it? So yeah, I'm just super stoked to have him back, really brought him back to life
Yeah, but
after the earlier bit. So let's move on now to the concluding match of the night, which I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know whether I liked it. Don't know whether I just it was something. So
so
this was
weird.
the four-way: Jay White, Adam Page, Orange Cassidy, and Mox. And with the instantaneous fighting between Jay White and Adam Page, they brawled into the crowd. Marina and Claudio interfering. Mox gets put through the tables, and then the match concludes quite quickly. We had this Yuta
Yeah.
coming in, interfering with the pinfall on Mox from Jay White. He delivered the Psycho knee. The Death Rider, or is it Driver?
It's still called Death Rider, yeah.
The Death Rider. I feel like it should be called the Death Driver. The Death
think you're right.
Rider is delivered, and he's then pinned. So Mox is able to win with the assistance. But the others were too divided, which it's logical and it makes sense. It was a frenzy of a match, but it wasn't a wrestling match, which in a way, I guess I kind of like in a way because I'm like, the Death Riders kind of deprive you of that. It's like the way they kind of hide the belt is like you're not entitled to that 5-star flippy match that you want. Like whatever you want, they're not going to give you because they're going to give you what you need as opposed to what you want. So they're about to brutalize Jay White, it would appear, but then FTR come down. Obviously they've been attacked by the Death Riders, and they were supposed to be out until the end of this year. And then, as I predicted, Adam Copeland comes out. It's like rated FTR. And yeah, then he came out, and Christian Cage was seen holding the contract. Cole spears Mox and then chokes him out. And then he just cuts a promo being like, rated FTR, baby, we're here. And
We're
then that
taking
was
it all.
the end.
And I was like,
That was
okay.
the end of the pay-per-view. So what do you make of that, Lucy?
Well,
Break it down.
First of all, I'm certain, yeah, you did call this, didn't you? That
Yeah.
Adam Copeland's going to come back, take on Mox, and we get Edge versus Christian. I'm pretty sure that's what you said in our last video. And perhaps you are correct, it seems like. But right, why would Christian not go and attack Mox? That was a perfect opportunity to cash in. I don't know. That doesn't really matter. That's a minor point. Yeah, I think that this match was short and maybe a bit anticlimactic. I didn't think the build was brilliant for it, to be honest. But I thought it was going to deliver just because, a four-way match, it has lots of potential for chaos and stories being told and different ways to go about the finish, etc. They at the start they were working together to get Moxley down, which is what you expected. Towards the end it started to get more fast paced and sort of every man was a contender really for winning it. Like, they were all trying to hit the finishers, etc. But then ultimately, yeah, it was the Death Riders that got involved. Yeah, I liked the fact that Marina finally got attacked. She got blade runnered by Jay White. That got a huge reaction because she's been so protected
Oh,
recently,
yep,
which
yep,
was
yep.
quite nice. Um, I I'm kind of glad that it happened like this because I think I said this a few weeks ago. I'm not ready for this story to be over and done justice yet. I feel like it's not fully baked in the oven yet.
Because as the story is, they need to be unified to defeat them. That's the whole thing,
Yes.
and that's why the ending was logical.
Yep.
Because of course they're not going to be able to defeat it when they're divided. So yeah, it would be very bizarre for one of them to take the title because the only way that it's going to work is, and obviously Darby Allin needs to pay into the mix, and you know. I guess Copeland being in it makes sense because Copeland loves Darby, so they have that tie there, and I'm sure that he
Mm,
wants to work with him in some capacity, but I did just find the rated FTR thing a little bit convoluted and a little bit random. And I'm like, it's
yeah.
not necessarily Copeland, but I'm just like, did we really need to bring FTR into this?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So I found, yeah, the ending a bit anticlimactic, especially with like, so Claudio had to haul the ref into the ring. It was a really slow ref count, and it was one of them slow counts where you assume they're going to kick out because the ref's taken so long to count to three, but he didn't, and it was just kind of like, oh. Adam Copeland then returning kind of gave the crowd a big boost. Everyone was really happy to see him. Of course, he got a great pop. Um, but yeah, I was just, yeah, exactly what you said. I was just confused why FTR were there. I
I
just
feel like
don't
Jay
know what
White's
they've
going to
got to
feud
do
with
with it.
Yuta, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
I'd
because
imagine because like he's
yeah,
probably gonna have like a really personal gripe with him because he's the one who sort of, and then I guess like FTR are gonna take on Claudio and Pac, and then I guess
what about the
Copeland's
trios
gonna take on
championships?
Mox.
Trios championships.
Maybe they're going for the trios. I don't.
Well, it was
It wasn't like the
announced.
last pay-per-view, was it? Like when they did that really great ending, and it was like here's Jay White and here's Darby and
Yeah.
that was done well, and then this is like the bad version of that. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say that they've announced for next Dynamite on New Year's Day. It's gonna be Mox, I believe, Wheeler and Claudio versus Rated FTR. So I don't know if this is just a. Is it this surely all this can't just be built into that one match?
Canada. They are like all best mates, though, aren't they? Like they they all live in Carolina and they all train in like because FDR have got like that cool little basement and they all nerd out with bloody Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Um,
Bret Hart
so
fanboy.
it's just dudes being dudes, yeah. And
Mm.
I guess like he loves Darby Allin, doesn't he? So he'll be bringing him in, and he wants. It's just people wanting to work with people, which like is nice. And FTR are great wrestlers, and but it was just weird. It was just weird. I'm sorry. It was just a bit weird.
Yeah, it was a bit like am I
I
meant
think we've got enough chefs in the kitchen. We've got
yes,
enough people.
exactly.
We don't need any more
We
people.
don't need more people added to this already quite convoluted. Not convoluted, it's not really the right word, but
No,
like
because it was fine
crowded.
before. It was
Yeah.
fine. It was like like I said, the last pay-per-view when they had all those people coming in. A lot of people didn't like that. Me and you liked that, and it was like the perfect balance. There was just enough plates spinning,
Yeah.
but this, and then you bring House of Black into the mix, and then you bring Christian into the mix, and then Christian's feuding with Hook, and it's just getting a little bit crazy. It's getting a little
Oh
bit like an
yeah.
acid trip up in this bitch.
And that's the other thing. Hook was also watching as well, wasn't he? For some reason, he was up in the rafters, sitting
Well,
there
they'd had the
watching.
match earlier.
I was like, oh, I might need to remember that. That might be important. But he didn't really do anything later. But yeah, when you say, like, adding these people to the mix, sounds like we're doing some Steiner math.
It really does, doesn't it? But it's a lot. Steiner Math's a lot more. There was just
It makes
three
more
things to
sense.
contend. Can you imagine the Steiner Math for this?
Oh my
It's
Christ.
just. It's not bad and it's
Yeah,
not
it's not.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's not like Adam Cole MJF level of shite.
Mm.
But it's just. It's just not how you want to end a pay-per-view with. And I guess Adam Copeland's return. But it's just World's End to me. It was supposed to be, not that I expected the Mox Death Rider thing to end, because I didn't like you and I don't think it should end, but I just feel like it wasn't very conclusive and it wasn't very satisfying.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't, and that's what I went in expecting, some satisfaction.
Yeah.
I can get no satisfaction.
No,
and I
literally.
didn't.
Because the same. Because I was like, this is gonna be big. Something big is gonna happen. And like, yeah, big stuff did happen. You know, Kenny, Edge. I mean, Adam Copeland. Excuse me. But it just wasn't like big things in terms of story, really, was it? Like, these are the stories we've told. It feels like we're just bringing new ones in instead of, bringing these established ones to an
Well,
exciting conclusion.
Takeshita retained, Mone retained, Kyle Fletcher and Ospreay, it's still the same spiel. And not discrediting that. Okada versus Ospreay, still the same spiel.
Ospreay returned.
Whatever
Okada returned.
whatever the hell the freaking devil storyline was that no one gives a shit about, we're still spinning that. The Mariah May thing, she's still in no man's land. No one progressed. No one concluded anything.
Yeah, right.
And in some cases, that wasn't as offensive, i.e. Hobbs Takeshita, i.e. Kyle Fletcher Ospreay. Didn't have a problem with it. But in other cases, it was quite offensive. And yeah, there was high highs. But as I said at the start, there was low lows. And I do think that if there was a percentage, I think the lows outweighed the highs, in my opinion, for this pay-per-view. I think there was... For something that's so stagnant, how can it be so fucking convoluted?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the paradox. It's like you said with the MJF thing. How can MJF be so likable, but better at playing a heel? None of this makes any sense. It's a mindfuck. It's an absolute mindfuck.
Yeah, I felt like the card just felt a bit bare, which is weird considering like the big names and the big matches that were on it. It just felt very limited, especially compared to the other pay-per-views this year. It felt really short, as well. Like, and also like the commentary team had a lot of time in between matches to like analyze and talk things through, like talking directly to the camera. Whereas in all the other pay-per-views this year, it's been go, like next match right now, and we're going, and it's been a lot. In some ways that was quite nice because it wasn't as fatiguing, because it just felt a bit more chilled, a bit more relaxed. But yeah, it just didn't have that big pay-per-view feel.
Yeah, I think it clocked in at like 3 hour 40 minutes, whereas normally they're like 4.5. Like they start at 1, and sometimes they finish, like I say, at 5:30. So that is 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my Steiner math. 4.5 hours. And then include the pay-per-view, the pre-show, sorry, it's like 5.5, so a lot of time. But yeah, like you say, it was just pretty bare, and even on the poster, it's like you say, it's not like, and now we've got this, and it's like, whoa, and it's like I say, that middle slump in the middle with those not so great matches. I don't know if it's just a case of like it's the end of the year and
yeah, I guess
maybe they're fatigued, like
it's the holiday
Tony's and like there's just less thought and a lot. I mean, I imagine that there is big plans for next year, but like we've broke it down and a lot of it is just continuing the same thing on. But yeah, it was quite nice to sort of not have such a long pay-per-view. I'm all for that, but yeah, I think when you're already feeling a bit underwhelmed by certain elements and not satisfied, not having a lot of wrestling and not having like a lot of bang for your buck, as it were, it just adds to that feeling of underwhelmingness, I suppose.
Yeah, there was also a few people who I thought were conspicuous by their absence. Darby Allin, for example. There was also no tag team match apart from the pre-show, and no Hurt Syndicate, which is like, yeah, it's the holidays. You guys spend time with your family by all means. It's not. I'm not criticizing.
But when they're on weekly TV,
yeah,
every week, and then you don't see them on the pay-per-view, and especially especially the tag team belts when we spend all that time
Yeah.
fucking building up for Private Party. Well, now you actually need to do something with them. So that's a great shout, I think.
Yeah, and why can't we have the trios belts defended? I don't
I
know.
think I saw a lot of people saying about the trios belts. Like they were like, why?
Yeah, and then I know that that's the Death Riders' whole thing is we've got these belts, but we're not going to parade them because fuck you all. I get it, but you'd think they'd be put in a title match by the
Well,
powers that
there's
be.
so much time in there to set these things up. If they didn't fuck about so much with stupid segments, they could easily create a hot trios feud.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Yeah.
freaking 4 hours of programming
Yeah,
a week. It's a lot of time to fill.
yeah, 100%. Exactly. Exactly. So on that note, what do you want to rate this pay-per-view out of 10?
Don't know why, but the number 6 is just jumping out to me.
Is you've your gut instinct?
Yeah, like just 6. I can't even explain why. Like, I guess like 5 is like middle of the road. But then I did say there was more bad than good, so really it should be a 4. But then, Kenny returning, I think that's monumentous. And I think that the Continental parts were definitely the highlight. But then, that was only 2 matches. Maybe it should be like a 5 or even a 4. It really wasn't that good. Like, what was. I think it should be. 4 seems really harsh,
It
though.
does. It does feel really harsh. I'm vibing with 6 as well. Although, yeah, when you break it down,
But what
bad
is that
things are
6? That 6
glaring.
is like Ospreay and everything he did.
Which is 2 matches.
Takeshita Hobbs,
Yes.
Kenny returning.
Yes.
I guess Adam Copeland returning, but with FTR it was a bit convoluted. That's like only 4 things.
What about did you say Statlander versus Mone?
Oh yeah, true. That was pretty good as well. So that's 5 things.
Yeah, that's 5 things. And
We can give it a 6, but I do think we are still being very generous there.
maybe it is generous, but that feels right to me.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I've
6 out of 10.
I've got my spreadsheet up, and that is
I think it's our
the
lowest rated.
lowest rated pay-per-view. Everything. I mean, all the other pay-per-views have been really high, and although to be fair, there's been a few that we didn't rate. But Forbidden Door was an 8, and that's the lowest. So
Oh,
yeah.
new lows. What a way to
New
end the year.
lows.
Ending the year with a low.
Yeah, not obviously not what we wanted to end the year on. We like to think positive, and we're being maybe a bit generous.
I don't think.
Even
Yeah,
beginning
generous. I thought you
to-
say we're being a bit negative. I'm like, oh, are we?
No. So let us know what you think in the comments. Are we being negative? Are we being generous? Curious to know what everyone else thought of the pay-per-view.
Oh, and we're. It should be lower for that shite that was MJF Cole.
That alone.
That alone should make it like a 1 out of 10, honestly, and then a 1 for everything else. But yeah, please let us know your thoughts. Rant away.
Yeah, sound off in the comments, and we'll get back to you. I love reading other people's thoughts, and like I think it's really fun when you're so engaged that you leave us a comment and it's detailed. It's like that. That thrills me because I'm like, would you?
It thrills me.
That's that. The time that it takes to do that. I just appreciate it a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Have a great new year.
yeah, happy New Year to everyone. May 2025 be the best yet, and yeah,
We've got good,
it's
big plans for the podcast. So
Yeah.
obviously we've got our tier ranking. We're gonna be doing, I think, 100% the NXT thing of predicting what we think people are like on the roster. Then watching the show, we'll let you know our initial first time of reaction. I think that'll be really fun. We've got more themed episodes and obviously more AEW reviews.
yeah. And we not even going to try and speculate what the next bit of content from us you might see will be. We haven't properly planned it out, but do subscribe and or follow us if you're listening on Spotify to make sure you're the first to find out what we're doing next. And please let us know what you thought in the comments, any feedback, any suggestions for the podcast in 2025, and we're always really keen to hear it. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Yep, see you next time. Bye.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, you rock and good night, bad.
I wish you died in the womb!